This is Twit.
Well, this would be a good time, I think, to delve into Parker Higgins' piece in The Guardian, because everything we've discussed today has had a common thread of how lawmakers have to grapple with technology that is not fixed, is constantly evolving, is difficult to understand, and yet what they do has long-lasting ramifications. Trevor Timm's piece is about the Supreme Court, and he wrote it in response to the two oral arguments on cell phone privacy recently, and also the Aereo case, at which the comments of the Supreme Court justices made it clear that they had some real gaps in knowledge about how certain things work. And it's not just, lack of technical knowledge, it's lack of any sort of understanding of how these widely used consumer technologies function. And so Trevor's solution, it sounds like he's very concerned that all these problems are landing at the feet of what he calls a handful of tech unsavvy judges. And he thinks that future nominees to the Supreme Court quizzed on their knowledge of technology at confirmation hearings, and that maybe we should employ a technologist to explain technical issues to the less technical judges. It is a big issue that the people who make the laws in this area, and even the people who talk about the laws in this area, such as us on the show, may not have the degree of technical, detailed knowledge that you really need to thoroughly understand how everything's working and thus be able to intelligently enact laws. What do you think of Trevor's proposal, Evan? Do you think that's where we need to go?
Well, probably somewhere between here and there. He makes a very good point. First of all, when I saw the headline that, it's going to be decided by people who don't use email, I thought, because they're using text messaging and Snapchat and everything so much, right, instead of email. It looks like we're at the other direction. The really important point that I see in all this is not so much that they don't understand how the technology works, but they don't understand how people use it. And that's really the fine point on this. And we talk about you're right, Denise, this is the theme that underlies all of this. It underlies almost every conversation we have on the show here. Technology affords us with more abilities to make choices. We have more opportunities to do things every single day, and the number of opportunities we have to go out and do things is growing exponentially because of the accelerating rate of change and innovation and all those things that we enjoy. So it's not so much understanding how the signal gets from the dime-sized antenna in the array that Aereo uses to the end user's device. I mean, the knowledge of that is not necessary to make good policy, but it's understanding the norms that underlie those uses and the desires that people have based on the opportunities that they have. That's the thing that really needs to be able to shape policy makers' thinking, legislators, regulators, the courts, to take this particular example here. That's where there really needs to be a robust understanding. Whether or not they actually use email, I don't really care. I just want them to understand how people use email and how the consequences of their decisions in that realm may affect both the present time and posterity.
Right. Some of the other cases headed toward the Supreme Court that Trevor mentions are internet radio services, out-of-control software patents, whether online posts should be judged the same as traditionally protected speech, and of course the whole constitutionality of NSA surveillance bubbling up through the various district courts. So what are your thoughts, Christina? Do we need to have some sort of vetting process?
That's probably a bit much. In some sense, a problem with having a generalist court is that there are always specific things, whether it's the way bankruptcy work, financial institutions, how innovators design software, how different pieces of technology works, that need to be explained to a generalist judge. And this is sort of a choice we have collectively made because of the, on the other hand, a fear that if you get too specific, you lose the general, themes and cohesions of a legal system. If you listen to Aereo, Sotomayor and Kagan really get the technology. And the worry is that when we say, oh, well, you don't really get the technology, we're not saying you don't understand how the file moves. We're saying you don't, share my values about what this technology should be doing, or, what its role is in society. You're missing kind of the cultural context. And so, these justices, a lot of them do know these things. They all have clerks that are from their mid-20s to their early 30s. In terms of understanding what's technically going on, they do. But Evan has it exactly right. The question is, how do people use it? How important it is? How important is it in people's lives? And what are the kind of dangers in it, given how people use it? And so, the bigger issue is always, can I get you to share my worldview about how things ought to be? And that shouldn't be conflated with, do you technically understand what's going on?